Hi. So a few days ago I was called a Nazi on the internet. Shocking, very rare I know. So I decided to make a video about it. Now the interesting part was the context in which it was said to me. It was during a discussion regarding Islamic immigration to Europe. When I gave my personal opinion that I'm against it, I was asked for my nationality by one of the members of this discussion. When I answered that I'm from Israel, I was branded a Nazi, which is quite funny and ironic at the same time in my opinion, but it sparked an interesting question. Why? Why is this comparison between Israelis, Israel and Nazi Germany so common these days? So why not make a video about it? So let's start with whom? Which individuals from which groups normally use this kind of analogy? From my personal experience, we are talking about three main groups: left-wingers, Arabs and Muslims. You might call it an unholy alliance, but it seems quite trendy these days. So let's start with why. Why use this kind of comparison, by comparing us to them? Quite simple actually. It further delegitimizes my country's right to exist on a moral standpoint. If we are compared to Nazi Germany, we have no right to exist. A second question that arises from this kind of comparison is, if Israelis are the Germans, who are the Jews? Well, not a lot of options left. The Palestinians. An ironic twist of history, I might say. Which is why the common question asked by pro-Palestinians these days is actually quite clever. Why do the Palestinians need to pay for the crimes of the Germans? How about starting a war of annihilation on the Jewish population in the British Mandate in the entire Middle East? Not good enough? The third point of this analogy is to further separate between the terms Israelis or Zionists to Jews, by saying that practically Jews are not Zionists. Zionists or Israelis are not Jews. What are we? Reptilian aliens? So after thinking long and hard about this subject, I came to a simple conclusion. Why deny the pro-Palestinian side from playing this game? Why not go ahead with it? So let's play. Let's play a simple game called Who's the Nazi Now? Mein Kampf is quite a popular book, not in my country and certainly not for research purposes, but in the Arab and Islamic world, even in countries which Israel has peace agreements with and diplomatic relations, such as Egypt and Turkey. Even in non-Arabic Muslim nations, such as Pakistan and Bangladesh, the book is quite popular, let alone Hitler is respected as a figure. The father of the Palestinian national identity, Haj Amin al-Husseini, was actually the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, one of the highest religious leaders of the Islamic world during that time. In the 30s, he actually met with Hitler in person and other top Nazi officials, oversaw the foundation of SS units in the Balkans, whose sheer purpose was the annihilation of Jews, Serbs and other minorities in the Balkans, and was actually planning on expanding the industrial annihilation of European Jewry into the Middle East, including the Jews living under the British Mandate and in other Arabic nations. The tagging of minorities by the Nazis was actually borrowed from the Islamic world. Under Sharia law, Jews, Christians and other minorities have to wear unique clothing, special badges, to separate them from the general Islamic population. The mere word Jew, not Israeli, not Zionist, is a derogatory term used in the Arab and Islamic world. An example for this was seen 6 years ago when CBS reporter Lara Logan was actually covering the so-called Arab Spring in Egypt. During those protesting, she was gang-raped by an Arab mob. After she was freed and rescued by Egyptian soldiers, her camera crew actually reported that during the assault, the mob was actually chanting, Jew, Jew, Jew. Lara Logan is not a Jew, she is not an Israeli, and she is not a Zionist. Yet the mob kept chanting as a slur, as a derogatory term, Jew, while sexually assaulting her. Now maybe this is some kind of foreplay in the Arab Islamic world I'm not aware of, but I highly doubt it. After the Second World War, many Nazi fugitives fled Germany to popular locations, such as South America. But a few actually found how not a welcoming hand in the Arab and Islamic world, mainly in countries such as Egypt and Syria. Prime examples are Johann von Leers was a propagandist, close to main figures such as Joseph Goebbels. He came to Egypt in the 50s, converted to Islam, and became the head of the anti-Zionist propaganda service at the Foreign Ministry. I wonder what resume the guy had. Alois Brunner, an Austrian SS officer, was actually Adolf Eichmann's assistant. Eichmann even referred to him as his best man. After fleeing West Germany in the 50s, he fled to Egypt, where he worked as a weapons dealer. Afterwards, he fled to Syria, where he was actually hired as a government advisor. Heribert Ferdinand Heim, an Austrian SS doctor known also as Dr. Death. After the war, he lived for many years in Egypt, under an alias. It is believed that Heim left Germany in 1963. In the 80s, he apparently converted to Islam and assumed the name Tariq Hussein Farid. It is believed that he died at the age of 79 in Cairo. Now, there are more prime examples of Nazi individuals that found refuge in the Arab and Islamic world, but the point being is the irony in this, being called a Nazi by Syrians, Egyptians, while at the same time your nations have been harboring Nazi fugitives for decades. Anti-Jewish Nazi propaganda is quite identical to the anti-Israeli propaganda we can see in the Arab and Islamic world. Usually the themes are quite the same. Jews are described, or Israelis, as rodents, as octopus, as ultra-Orthodox, which is the greatest irony of it all, because 99% of the Jewish ultra-Orthodox population does not even describe itself as a Zionist, but as an anti-Zionist. The persecution of gays in Nazi Germany is quite similar to that of gays in the Arab and Islamic world. The death penalty is quite used, whether it be in Shiite Iran or in Sunni Saudi Arabia. Usually it's not for the mere charges of homosexuality, but they simply call it sodomy or blasphemy, how original. While in the so-called Nazi Zionist entity of Israel, quite frankly, most Israelis don't care where you choose to shove your genitals at. Not to say that we don't have any homophobes, of course we do, mainly in the religious sector, some politicians, but the main point still remains. You can be openly gay in Israel, while in the other camp, gays hang, and not in gay clubs. And last, but certainly not least, the cherry on the top of this hypocritical cake, which is this analogy of us to Nazis, is the mere fact that ever since the end of the Second World War, the greatest killers of Jews, I'm not even talking about Israelis or Zionists, but Jews, not even affiliated with the State of Israel, in South America, in Europe, and across the globe, is not us, but you.